Right now at 5, the Badgers are moving on in the Big Ten tournament. We'll have game highlights and reaction from local fans after today's big win. This week, the candidates for Wisconsin Supreme Court held their first and only debate. The reaction from the court's outgoing judge. And the clocks could stop moving back and forth in Wisconsin. What Wisconsin lawmakers are doing to try to end daylight saving time. You're watching News 3 Now at 5. Thanks for staying with us at 5, everybody. Eric will be back next week. We begin with the forecast. Alert day severe weather is in the forecast for tonight. Alex is out on the patio. It's been a nice warm afternoon, but what are the severe threats we're talking about and when?
Susan, damaging winds. That's the main threat that we're going to experience tonight as a line of thunderstorms that's already forming in Iowa and Missouri races quickly to the north and east. Our alert day conditions will evolve as we get towards 8 o'clock. I'm going to show the timing across all of southern Wisconsin in just a moment. But what are we up against? Wind gusts of 60 miles per hour. We could be looking at 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts in some locations, especially near the Illinois border. Can't rule out an isolated tornado. And this is tonight through early Saturday morning, and nighttime severe weather means you need to be tuned in to Channel 3 and have the First Warn weather app handy, channel3000.com, and our digital feed to get the latest warnings. And we've got all kinds of comprehensive coverage. Myself, Blaze, and Buddy will be here tonight here on Radar 3000. Look at the warnings right now in Iowa and in Missouri. There's a new one that's just issued south of Des Moines. All of these warnings are for winds in excess of 70 miles per hour, and these storms are racing off towards the north and towards the east at 65 miles per hour. They will be in Grant County. They will be in Lone Rock and Dodgeville and Darlington between 8 and 10 p.m. They will be in Madison and in Sauk City and the Dells between 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. And they will be in Beaver Dam and in Janesville and Elkhorn between midnight and 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Here comes that line. This has been consistent for days, sweeping across southern Wisconsin. When you see a line of thunderstorms, that's usually suggestive of strong damaging winds, but we can't rule out a couple of tornadoes on the leading edge of this line, provided we get a little bit more moisture pulled in from Illinois, and then it all ends by the time we get to 3 o'clock. But let's recap here. Look at the bars here. In the wind category, this is the extreme type of a wind event where we could be looking at wind gusts in excess of 60, 70, and 80 miles per hour. Coming up in Maine weather, we will use Future Track again to remind folks when you can expect this line of storms and how much water you can expect as well with all the winds and dry fuels. We've got a fire risk out here too. We could at least use the water. That's coming up.
All right, Alex, thank you. Now to Big Ten tournament coverage. The Badgers are moving ahead to face Michigan State in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament. We're bringing you team coverage from Indianapolis and right here in Madison. And let's start with sports director Zach Hanley, who has highlights from today's game. Zach?
Yeah, the first win in the Big Ten tournament is always the toughest, but now that that was out of the way, well, the rest should be a breeze, right? And the Badgers made their second game in Indy look pretty easy. It's UCLA's first ever Big Ten tournament appearance, and Wisconsin was a welcoming host, putting on a 3-ball party. John Tonje says, "Give me all 3 of those, plus 1. The 4-point play puts the Badgers up 9. Tonje hit 4 triples in the first half. As a team, they made 12 in the first 20 minutes. Here's another. Death taxes and a corner 3 from Kamari McGee. Badgers led by 19 at the break, and it was all over from there. Second half now, Tonje dials another one up. He finished with a game-high 26 and made UCLA's coach look like that. Badgers blow out the Bruins to advance to the semifinals, and our very own Andrew Banstra was there for all the triples and joins us live from Indy. And Andrew, they just couldn't miss from deep, could they?
It was raining threes here in Indianapolis. The Badgers tied a Big Ten tournament record, hitting 19 triples, led by John Tonje, who scored 25 points before even missing a single shot.
You know, that's a pretty good run that you go on, rattle 25 off before missing. It's one of those, streaks and heaters, as we would call it, that he's kind of on. But I think that's just his work ethic. Like, that doesn't really surprise a lot of us. We know he works super hard and he's super diligent working on his game. And, he's earned that. He's earned to receive first-team honors and go have a game like that. So we're just all super proud of him as teammates.
But the Badgers, Carter Gilmore told me, are already done celebrating, telling me winning 2 games is cool, but it means nothing without a trophy. At Gamebridge Fieldhouse, Andrew Banstra, News 3 Sports.
Andrew, thank you. Now let's get to our Tanisha Shaw. She is live at the Kohl Center tonight. She was watching the game along with a big crowd of fans. Tanisha, what are you hearing out there now?
Hi, Susan. Like you said, I'm here outside the Kohl Center, and I've been watching the game with fans all day. Just minutes ago, I was at Union South, really seeing how the fans were celebrating. And let me tell you, everyone is excited to see the Badgers advance to the semifinals after beating UCLA 86-70. Earlier today, I got to, like I said, talk to fans and really see where they were feeling, get that temperature check. Yesterday, Wisconsin beat Northwestern, and I was there to ask fans how they felt before and after the game. Now, let me tell you, there's a little bit of a difference. Yesterday, when the Badgers played Northwestern, they were very confident. They said this win is a no-brainer. They were celebrating very early. But today, fans weren't as certain, but they were still confident in the Badgers. I also got a chance to talk to excited fans that traveled all the way from Oconomowoc just to watch the game on campus.
I would feel very happy.
The Badgers are my favorite team.
We're really excited because we really hope they win the whole tournament, and we watch every game at home, and we came in from Oconomowoc to be in Madison to watch the game. We hope always to beat any of the teams we see a lot, like Michigan, Michigan State, and we hope they can go pretty deep in the NCAA tournament as well, because we think they're a pretty good team this year.
And again, we're all hoping that the Badgers will go far, so we're sending good luck to them in Indianapolis. Zach and Andrew will have more on this tomorrow throughout the weekend as well. And I'll have more fan reactions during our next newscast at 6 p.m. Reporting in Madison, Tanisha Shaw, News 3 Now.
All right, Tanisha, we will see you tonight at 6. Thank you. In other news, Wisconsin's Department of Public Instruction is launching a new website to track the impacts of federal funding cuts. DPI says the tool is available on its website and includes updates on current funding cuts at the federal level, along with an interactive map that allows the public to view district-specific data. There is also personalized one-page flyers for each Wisconsin district. Those can be found at the bottom of the website. Today, dozens of disabled veterans took to the state capitol to protest cuts to the Department of Veterans Affairs. Last week, a memo from the department revealed it was planning to cut over 80,000 jobs. This is on top of the 1,400 federal VA employees laid off as part of the Trump administration's cut to the federal government's probationary workforce. We spoke to demonstrators today who say they are fighting not only for themselves, but also the veterans of tomorrow.
There's going to be a lot more veterans giving all the military actions we've been involved in for the last 20 years, and they're going to need a lot of follow-up benefits for emotional situations and physical, or both problems. I think it's just the tip of the iceberg about the growing concern about these kind of cuts and cuts to other programs, Department of Education, Health and Human Services, and so forth.
VA department heads and human resources officials are conducting a sweeping review of employees. Their plan on how to cut and reorganize the workforce will be submitted by April 13th. The race for Wisconsin Supreme Court continues with candidates Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel running to replace retiring Justice Ann Walsh Bradley. Political reporter Will Keneally spoke with her this week on For the Record, and he joins us now with more. Will?
Well, Susan, this week we saw the first and only debate among those two candidates, and the striking scenes inside the hall as all sitting Supreme Court justices were in attendance. Now, we caught up with that retiring Justice Ann Walsh Bradley, speaking to her about what kind of justice that she wants to see replace her on the bench.
The kind of justice that the people of Wisconsin not only want but deserve. Fair, impartial, hardworking, keen intellect, understands what it means to be a person of this state with the values that represent this state.
Now, Justice Ann Walsh-Bradley there is among the Liberal majority on the court right now, and she's endorsing Liberal candidate Susan Crawford in that race. Now, we talked with her about that race as well as some of the attacks on the current court, and you can see more coming up this Sunday morning at 10:30 on For the Record.
We're looking forward to that. We'll see you on Sunday. Thank you. Still to come tonight at 5, Alex tells us about the severe weather on the way tonight for southern Wisconsin. And the clocks have gone forward an hour, but that could soon be a permanent change. We'll hear why lawmakers are working to ditch daylight saving time in the Badger State. On Wall Street today, the work week ended with the market bouncing back. The Dow closed up 674 points. The Nasdaq rose 451. The S&P 500 gained 117. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Welcome back, everyone. Wisconsin could be ditching daylight saving time if a new proposed bill passes the state legislature. Arman Rahman goes into that and tells us who in Wisconsin is tired of turning the clocks backwards and forwards.
It's a game we play 2 times a year. Right now, we just lost an hour of sleep but gained an hour of daylight, unlike this guy over here back in the fall, when we gained an hour of sleep but lost an hour of daylight. But why do we even do daylight savings time at all, and could it be on the chopping block in Wisconsin?
It doesn't bother me too much now that it's automatic.
The opinions spring back and forth as much as the clock.
Definitely rough.
But Carl Kepler surrounds himself with faces up to 100 years old who don't care that much.
Wind-up clocks are very peaceful and restful. They don't really care what you're going to do about forward and backward business.
He owns Kepler Clock Repair on Madison's east side for the past 52 years.
They just want to be kept running and taken care of, babied a little bit once in a while.
He was around when Wisconsin first set daylight savings in 1957, and when they tried to change it before.
I have heard that before, that they were going to do that along with the metric system. We were going to change that too. So I wouldn't hold your breath for either one of them.
Now, Wisconsin Representatives Nate Gustafson and Rachel Cabral Guevara introduced a bill to eliminate the practice of daylight saving time in Wisconsin. They say it hurts people in the workplace and is bad for mental health and productivity in adults and kids.
As a mom, I know that it disrupts my kids' lives a bit, and my one son earlier this week was saying that whoever invented daylight savings time is stupid. So I know that that's difficult.
So why do we wind ourselves up in the first place?
The farmers. Isn't that why? Isn't it for the farmers?
No, not about agriculture.
Daylight saving time was started to conserve energy during wartime. Now Pam Yonke says farm animals have their own biological clock, so it's more about people.
No changes are what we always look forward to in agriculture. A flat line. If I don't have to worry about my employees oversleeping or any of those kinds of things, that usually means that life's going to get a little easier.
Kepler says until lawmakers make a decision,
they're just here to keep on ticking.
If it passes, the bill will take effect next January 1st. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to try to get back that hour of sleep. Reporting in Madison, Armand, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Armand. Alex is here now with an update on the weather. Are there any watches or warnings in effect right now, Alex?
No, not yet, but those warnings and watches have filled up in the state of Iowa and in Missouri, and those storms are on the way to southern Wisconsin. Take note here what? 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts are a possibility tonight. Can't rule out that isolated tornado, but the primary risk is damaging winds as we go into the nighttime hours through the early morning hours of Saturday. Let's break that down. Grant County over towards Dodgeville, Darlington, 8 to 10 p.m. That line will be moving in. 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Folks, Sauk City, Wisconsin Dells, Madison over towards Monroe, and then east towards Janesville, Beaver Dam, and Elkhorn as we go from 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Here are those storms right now, Susan and folks. Look at the warnings across central Iowa. These storms are racing to the north and will eventually start to race to the northeast at 65 miles per hour. So we will be moving quickly and they will be entering southwest Wisconsin by around 8, 9 o'clock. Boscobel over to Platteville, Mineral Point, stretching towards the east as we get towards 11. The line advances. When you see a line like this is usually a signature of strong damaging winds. Look at the arc. It moves through Madison and then it arcs as we get towards 12 o'clock. That's a signature of a bow echo meaning strong winds. Again, that's the primary mode of the threats for tonight, and then just a few showers on Saturday. I'm going to step off to the side here. We have upped the level of risk here, the level of impact to extreme for winds because of those isolated 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts that are a possibility. And when you get into that category of 60 to 60, 70 plus, this is when you see the potential for widespread damage, and some of that damage severe. So what can you do right now? Keep your TV tuned to Channel 3 all evening. Myself, Blaze, and Buddy will be here providing coverage as that line moves into southern Wisconsin. Make sure you have a weather plan in place and the First Warn Weather app all ready to go for those watches and warnings that we will likely see tonight. You might be also interested, we're going to get some water at least out of this. Price to pay, unfortunately, with severe weather. 1/4 to a 1/2 inch, maybe a 1/2 inch out towards the Mississippi River, and an isolated 1/2 inch to 3/4 south of Madison. So not a lot of water because the line's moving very quickly with these thunderstorms. And I want to call this out because the National Weather Service would like us to relay this with the windy conditions, dry vegetation, temperatures in the 70s. We have an elevated fire risk on top of the risk here for severe weather. Once we get through alert day conditions tonight, we have alert day conditions on Saturday as well for wind gusts potentially in excess of 50 miles per hour. Nice days on Monday and Tuesday, a little bit on the breezy side. First, to let you know, we are calling out Wednesday for alert day conditions as well in southern Wisconsin. This weather system, early highs around 47 degrees early. I want to emphasize that early in the day, and then rain changing over to wet snow, and some accumulation is possible. So we've got 3 sets of alert day conditions with the greatest focus on tonight as that line of strong to severe thunderstorms moves in to southern Wisconsin. We'll take another look at radar and future track at the end of the newscast.
All right, Alex, thank you. Still to come tonight at 5, the clock is ticking to keep the federal government funded. Why Democrats are split on the issue. That's next.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
The Senate has until midnight tonight to avert a partial government shutdown or risk further disruptions to the federal workforce. The odds of a shutdown tamped down after Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said he would vote in favor of a House Republican-backed bill that extends government funding through September. That drew the ire of some House Democrats.
We find ourselves in the midst of a hostile administration that is taking a wrecking ball to essential government services that are essential to people's lives. People will be poorer, sicker, and hungrier, and we have to do everything to stop that.
The impact of a government shutdown is different every time, and it was unclear how federal agencies would function during a shutdown. An American tourist is being pressured to leave Australia after snatching a baby wombat from its mother. Australians were outraged, with many calling for the Montana tourist to be kicked out of the country. The Australian government threatened to cancel her visa, and the Prime Minister did not hold back.
I suggest to this so-called influencer, maybe she might try some other Australian animals. Take a baby crocodile from its mother and see how you go there.
And I think all of us who are in this world of conservation would like to see stricter penalties against people who harm our wildlife.
The influencer known as Sam Jones locked down her social media, calling the act a mistake. Animal rights groups are urging her to reveal where she was when she grabbed the wombat so that they can ensure the baby is reunited with its mother. We'll be right back with a final check of the weather when we return. Coming up tonight at 6, making safety accessible. We'll tell you how one Madison man is educating the public about gun safety at no cost. Finally at 5, today is March 14th, and those digits 314 make it National Pi Day. Not pie as in apple pie or pizza pie. In the mathematical constant 3.14, represented by the Greek letter pi, it's the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. According to nationaldaycalendar.com, the first major observance of Pi Day was in 1988 at the San Francisco Exploratorium. Of course, for us, it means the pie eating contest here at Channel 3.
That's right.
You're keeping a very close eye. Could be a bumpy night tonight.
Yes, it very well could be a bumpy night. All of southern Wisconsin, don't let your guard down. Again, First One weather app, keep your TV tuned to Channel 3, Channel 3000. We have a digital feed on channel3000.com as well, as we take note of severe thunderstorm and tornado watches to our south and towards our west, where you see the flashing orange polygons, as they're called, and there are a lot of them out there in Iowa. These are severe thunderstorm warnings for winds to 70 miles per hour. These storms are individually moving towards the north and towards the east at 65 miles per hour, and that means they move a county or two each hour, and they will be here in southwest Wisconsin by 8 o'clock. And at 6 o'clock, we'll do another look at that line of storms moving in and use Future Track to track them.
All right, thank you, Alex. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good evening and a good weekend. Hope to see you back here at 6.